But for us, we have to make up our mind that we're not settling with anything less than what God has promised. Can we do that this morning? And I'm telling you, we got a generation that's coming on the scene that is ready to move with God. Let me just back up and say that again. We have a generation that is coming on the scene. They look a little different. They sound a little different. But can I just say this? Their faith is through the ceiling to see God move and do something that I believe that God is wanting to do, and they're ready to move with it. So what do? They settle for less than what God said they could have. Most time I said we have the same problem today. When God's ready to move and take us into something new, and it calls us, if you will, to have to make some decisions that make us uncomfortable, and to have to make some changes and have to do some sacrifices and willing to give up some things, and maybe we even have to fight a little more. It may cause us to have to get into our prayer closets and fast and do some of the things that we just don't like doing, because there is a cost to anything with God when it comes to vision or moving in something new. It's going to cost us something. We're going to have to die to something. We're going to have to cut some relationships go loose. We're going to have to do some things different. And it was no different here with these three tribes. Just like us. We can settle here. It's not a problem. But see, here's what I'm driving at. See, that's within our own thinking. That's our own thinking. That's our own thought process. This is just as good. I don't have to go down there where God said go. I don't have to do this, because this is just as good to my natural eye. The only problem is we're not God. The only problem is we can't see past our noses. The only problem is that is us working in our own strength, in our own capabilities. And God, let me just remind us, His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. And they go, if you will, they surpass anything we can think. He knows, again, the end from the beginning. And so what they didn't realize, what looked good, actually ended up costing them. When you're going through transition, when you're going through change, and you're trying to move into this new place with God, and seeing vision and things that's happening and the new things that God's wanting to bring, it's so much easier to stay on this side of the Jordan. It's comfortable here. This is good, man. And here, I find this interesting too, because the thought that they had was not following God. If you go back and read in Numbers 32, the first thing out of their mouth when they told Moses about settling was, this is good for our cattle. You know what they were saying? This is good for our livelihood. See, sometimes we make decisions to settle of what's going to actually benefit, should I even go here? Of our livelihood. Materialistic things and things that, it blows my mind of how people make decisions and stuff and not even consider God. They make up how much money is going to line their pockets of what it's going to do. It's not whether is it God's will, is it God's purpose, is God leading you or is God not leading you? And we try to get in that place of making decisions. But can I just say this again? When it comes to vision and moving into things and moving with God and doing what God is, there's going to be cost. There's going to come a place we can't trust ourselves. We can't lean to our own understanding. We have to lean to God. We have to look to God. He is our protector. He is our provider. And it is not up to us to do that. If God has said, if God is leading us into this new place, then it is God's obligation to provide for us. Amen. 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 Until we can see on the inside with eyes of faith what God has said and what God has promised, that's when we move, because now we're not walking by what we see. We walk by faith and not by sight.